Hey up troops, it's A Littleton here again with another video, and this time we're looking at these things, sites. In Year 7 Season 3, there's a lot of operators which have gained sites, and there's a lot of operators which have lost sites. Ubisoft very kindly gave me access to Year 7 Season 3 early. We've managed to sort of pre-record this and try and get in while the iron's hot. But in this video, we're going to go through every operator that's had either a site added or a site taken away. So just a heads up, the changes here only affect SMGs, ARs, and LMGs. Through my research and flicking through every operator, I can't see any change to shotguns or DMRs. It's only SMGs, ARs, and LMGs. I think, as always, that's probably enough waffling, don't you? Let's get stuck into it. Right then, let's get started with the attackers then. Just point of note, this is the test server. Obviously, all the operator cards and operator pictures are standard. Some of the skins are, all the skins are standard as well. So that's why it looks a bit strange. However, started with Sledge then. Sledge loses his ACOG on the L85. Still has the 1.5, but he's lost his ACOG on the L85. Moving on then to Thatcher. His AR33 stays the same, but Thatcher now gets access to the 1.5 on his L85. What Ubisoft seem to have done is anyone that had a higher magnification scope, like let's just say the 2x for example, all the magnifications underneath that now get unlocked as well. So let's just say somebody had access to the ACOG, they now get the 2x and the 1.5. So every magnification underneath what they already had seems to be unlocked now. But yeah, that's what Thatcher's got on the L85 now. Now, one point of note, I know this is a video about sights. However, there's a lot of guns which have now got access to both grips. I'm going to use Ash's R4C as an example here. You can now put the angled grip on the R4C. I can't really do a video about grips because people care about sights. I'm not too fussed about grips, really. I don't think there's a massive difference between the two anymore. However, a lot of guns now have access to angled if they didn't before. So just, yeah, keep an eye out for that. Some, not all, though. So if you go on Twitch, for example, Twitch's F2 doesn't have access to the angled still. So there are still some which only have vert. There are a lot of guns now which have angled and vert. So back to the sights. We've done Sledge. We've done Thatcher. Ash stays the same. Thermite. Thermite now, of course, gets access to the 1.5 because he had the ACOG and because he had the 2.5. The 2.0. Because he had the ACOG and the 2x, he now gets the 1.5. I'm absolutely ecstatic about this. I'm a Thermite main. The 1.5 is my favourite scope. Being able to bob around and ranked in Year 7 Season 3 with a 1.5 on Thermite is a dream come true. The Thermite gets the 1.5. We then move over to the next. If I skip an operator, it's because nothing's changed. Monty was obviously only a pistol. Glaz gets a few grips, but his sights stay the same. Hughes also now, because he had the 2x on his AK, now gets access to the 1.5 on his AK, which will be insanely good. With the fire rate on that gun on a 1.5. Moving on from Fuse, obviously Blitz stays exactly the same. The next thing we want to look at is IQ. IQ on a AUG. So we all know it used to have the ACOG. Now gets the 2x. I'm not sure if it had the 2x before. I don't think it did. But it now gets, because it had the ACOG, it now gets the 2x and the 1.5. I think the AUG with a 1.5 could be right spicy. But we'll see once the season starts. I think it'd be a really clean gun with the 1.5. G8 and 5.52 stays exactly the same. When I was going through and checking, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure BB didn't have the 2x before. If he did, I do apologize and pretend I didn't include this in this video. But he does now have the 2x, and I think he had the 1.5 before anyway. That's BB. We then want to be looking at Capitao. Capitao now gets the 2x on his para. As you can see there, the 2x. He definitely had the 1.5 before, but Capitao can now have the 2x on the para. Moving on to Habana. This is a big change. Because Habana used to have the ACOG, Habana now gets access to the 2x, which I think will be interesting on the Type 89. Obviously, she's still got the ACOG and the 1.5, which she had before, but because of that, she now gets the 2x. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. Moving on from Habana, the next one we're going to look at is Jackal. Again, because Jackal had the 2x on his C7, he now gets access to the 1.5 on his C7. It could be really, really big as well for that gun. It's another clean handling gun with a 1.5. That could be really big. Moving on, Ying stays exactly the same. Moving on to Zoe. Zoph's LMG. Now, again, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm kind of sure that Zofia used to have the ACOG on her LMG. Well, anyway, she's now only got the 2x and the 1.5. On her M762 on Zoph's AR, because she used to have the 2x, we've now got the 1.5 on Zoph's AR, which again is really, really clean. I think we might start seeing the resurgence of the Zoph AR with the LMG recoils. I think this gun feels better on the test server, whether it's like a blind buff as people talk about sometimes, but We'll see when it comes to the live build on Year 7 Season 3. Fingers crossed that the Zof AR is back in contention and is a usable gun again. So after Zof, we now move on to Lion. Lion used to have the ACOG on the 2X, so of course now he gets access to the 1.5 on his big Vector, the V308. I call that a Vector. I don't know if that is a Vector. It looks like a Vector, but like an assault rifle version of the Vector. I'm not a gun person, I don't really know, but it looks like a Vector, I guess. Anyway, he gets the 1.5. Let's move on. Next one we want to be looking at after Lion is Finka. So Finka's had a couple of changes on both guns. Again, because she used to have the 2X on the Spear, she now gets the 1.5 on the Spear, which will be absolutely unreal. Spear is one of the best handling guns in the game. It's high damage, decent fire rate. There's very little recoil. Having a 1.5 on that will be big on attack. The Finka's LMG, I'm pretty sure, again, it used to have the ACOG. In fact, it definitely did used to have the ACOG on Finka's LMG. That's now not an option. It's the 2X and the 1.5. Some big changes for Nomad, who we're going to look at next. Mav stays exactly the same. Looking at Nomad next, a couple of changes on both of her guns. So Nomad only used to have the ACOG or the 1.5 on the AK. Now added the 2X in there as well. So she gets a full complement of sights that you can choose from on Nomad's AK. There's something, hear me out right, there's something about Nomad's AK, and I don't know what it is, but it works so well for me. I don't know if it's just the combination of a slightly lower fire rate with slightly higher damage. It just feels great, man. I think it's one of the best guns in the game for me personally. But anyway, no one's here to hear what my opinion is of every gun in the game. A bit of a change for the ARX for Nomad as well. Nomad now gets the 1.5 on the ARX. Used to only have the 2X, now gets access to the 1.5 on the ARX, which is interesting because another member of this squad, this set of operators that uses the ARX, has also had a change as well. Letting no secrets in there. See if you can guess who it is before we get there. So moving on from Nomad, we're now looking at Gridlock. Gridlock on the F90. Used to have the 2X, so now also gets the 1.5 in there as well. I'm pretty sure she used to be able to have the ACOG on the F90, but if not, you can definitely have the ACOG now as well. But definitely could have had the 2X, therefore we can now have the 1.5. Moving on from Gridders, we're going to be looking, Nox stays the same, we're going to be looking at Amaru, and this is a big one for me. Amaru used to have the 2X on the G8, now can have the 1.5. I just feel like the 1.5 is such a good balance of a clean reticle, good zoom, but not too much of a zoom that you can still take close quarter fights. But yeah, having the 1.5 on the G8 will be wild. It's such a good gun as it is. After Amaru, we move on to the other person who's had a change on the ARX. Obviously, Kali stays the same. When it comes to the ARX change for Ayana, no more 1.5. Only 1X scopes for Ayana on the ARX. On a G36, stays exactly the same. Still got the 1.5 on there. After Ayana, we move on to Ace, and this is the next big change that I'm absolutely buzzing about. I'm sad in a way because Ace has lost his 2X. However, he's now got a 1.5. Again, I play a lot of 1.5. I play a lot of Ace. Being able to use that next season, I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's going to be absolute beast. But we'll see. Losing the 2X is a bit of a loss. Having the 1.5 there could be absolutely huge. A big change for Ace there as well. After Ace, Zero stays exactly the same, and we move on to Flores. Flores loses his ACOG on his AR-33. Used to be able to have a full complement for Flores on his AR-33, 2X and 1.5 now, which is not the end of the world. There's a good balance there between the 2X and the 1.5. Move on to Flores. Now, it's not Flores, sorry, we've just done Flores. Move on to Osa. So much like Thermite, Osa used to have the ACOG on 2X on the 5.56. Now, of course, gets the 1.5. Another big change for Osa there. I just think that gun suits it's going to suit the 1.5 perfectly. I'm so excited to play it. And then finally, after Osa, we're going to be looking at Grim. Now, Grim's the new op, obviously. However, he hasn't got any sight changes because he's brand new, but I thought I'd show you because it's a video on the new season anyway. He only gets access to 1X sights on his 5.52. Now, I think he might be the only attacker who only has the option of 1X sights because obviously his next gun is a shotgun. So I initially thought, well, actually, no, Ash only gets a 1X on her R4C. However, she could take the G36 if she wanted to with the 1.5. So, unless I'm mistaken, please tell me in the comments if I am. I think Grim might be the only operator who has the option of a 1X without having any sort of further magnification, but I could be wrong. Anyway, that's attack done and dusted. Right then, moving on to defense. There's some absolutely massive changes on defense. Some defenders are going to move right out the meta, I feel. Some attackers are going to move right into the meta if they weren't already. So there's less changes on defense, but I'll rattle through them again. Mute loses his 1.5 on his MP5. A lot of players play the Mute 1.5 these days. I'm not against it. I prefer the shotgun and SMG11 myself, but I see why people play Mute MP5. Well, not anymore, unfortunately. Mute only gets access to 1Xs on his MP5 now. After Mute, we move over to Pulse, who gains, much like his friend Castle, gains the 1.5 on his UMP now, which is big for Pulse players. Guns sort of struggleville sometimes as it is, but with the 1.5 on Castle, it can be a bit of a headshot machine. Pulse now also falls into that group as well. After Pulse, we move over to Rook. Rook used to have the 2X on his MP5, but of course now he gets the lower magnification as well, which is the 1.5, much like Doc on his MP5. I'm saying 0.5 and 5 a lot here, aren't I? Doc used to, on his MP5, had the 2X, now has the 1.5 on his MP5. Man, I'm spitting bars, man. So that's Rook. Moving on, this is a big change. We've been here before, and we're going back to here again. Frost gains the 1.5, which is big. The gun is really, really good. It's such high damage, 45 damage. Don't get me wrong, the fire rate's not brilliant at all, but with a 1.5, it's an absolute headshot machine. It's really, really easily controlled. I think you're going to see a lot more Frost next season, which is bad for me because I die to Frost traps all the time. And right, the next two defenders are the last two defenders. Apart from everyone else stays the same. Apart from, three more defenders, which I think are three of the biggest changes here. We spoke about Mute, we spoke about Pulse, we spoke about Rook, and we spoke about Frost. These are the next three, which I think are absolutely wild. Bad news for Cade players. Cade has lost his 1.5. Now, I play a lot of Cade, or when he's not banned, I try and play a lot of Cade. Losing his 1.5 could be a big deal. Fingers crossed it's not, but I think that's a big loss for Cade players there. His gun was really good with the 1.5. Probably why they're taking it away. Now, this next one is wild. I think this is probably the biggest change on defense. Which operator am I going to next? Can't believe I'm saying this, but your man Goyo has now got a 1.5 on his Vector. Now, for those of you that played a few seasons ago, I can't remember which season exactly, but when the 1.5 first came out, Mira had access to it on her Vector, and it was an absolute machine. I've played a few games on the test server here, and Goyo's the same. I'm bad news. There's gonna be a lot of fire on the floor in Year 7 Season 3 because there's gonna be a lot of Goyo players with this 1.5. Goyo has a 1.5, an excellent gadget. Probably the two, apart from a shield, probably the two best gadgets on defense as well. Even a TCSG, which is a good gun to use, which also has the 1.5 now because it used to have the 2X. Yeah, the 1.5 on the Vector is going to be mad next season. And the next big one, which is going to really affect me because I play this guy probably more than anyone else on defense, is Wamai. Wamai has lost his 1.5 on his MP5. A lot of 5s again here. But yeah, no more 1.5 for Wamai players, I'm afraid. Bad news for me, and well, bad news for every Wamai player, really. Probably going to start seeing a lot more Wamai players using the AUG. So there we have it. That's every sight change in Year 7 Season 3. I think there's some really big changes there. For me, Thermite and Ace on attack is a massive change. But also Goyo, Wamai, and Cade on defense are huge changes as well. And then we might start seeing a swing in which the operators people start playing, which might see a change in the meta. It's going to be an interesting season for sure. I always say it, for those of you that don't know, I also stream on Twitch 4 days a week. Every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Friday. The username is exactly the same as what it's on YouTube here. If you've already followed me and you already come over there from YouTube, thank you very much. If you haven't, go and do it right now. Why not? I might be live now. If I'm not, drop a follow. But yeah, if you do get involved, thanks very much. Other than that, that's it for me on this one, and I'll see you next time. All the best in Year 7 Season 3. Cheers.